Podcast, episode 5. We are in the month of April. When people see this, it actually be the month of May. This year has been going by extremely quick. It's like the older you get, the less time you kind of got. Like I said, my right-hand guy always here with me, Corbin Perry. We got our special guest and good friend, Ricardo Rogers, licensed realtor in Michigan. Ricardo, it's a pleasure to have you on, brother.
Man, I appreciate you, man. I feel honored, stoked, all the above. You know what I mean? That I'm able to come here, man. It's an honor, man. So
it's nice to be able to have that flexibility, man, isn't it? You could never do something like this at working at Costco. You know what I mean? Like
Costco, when I worked
just
at Costco,
so much more rigid. You got to block everything out so differently.
Man. It's an honor to be here, man. So I'm excited. I'm excited.
Let's jump into it, man. So you mentioned Costco, right? When I first met Corbin, he was telling me how he used to work at Costco. And then when we first met, we found out we had mutual friends within Corbin. So if you guys just kind of go deeper into how you guys got to know each other and exactly how you ended up where you are now.
Yes, sir. Yeah, well, I want to talk about it anyways, man, because like I said, we were just talking just before we started. I mean, I started. I'm just kind of estimating. I feel like I was working at Costco as long as starting around 7 years ago or something like that. Could be 6 or 7, you know. And because I had worked there for about 2.5 or 3 years, and then I took some time and did something else, and then I went to a different store. And you were at the 28th Street store. I think when I started, we were both at the 28th Street store. And you were bouncing around doing different things, you know, in different positions and everything. And I always worked at the cell phone kiosk, so I just know we got to know each other just a little bit there. And I always appreciated you because you're one of those people. You're just like him, where I find it. Like, if you're there, I'm excited because you always have a...
You already know what time it is, bro.
You know what I mean?
That was our little thing, man.
I don't know if I'd ever seen you in the years that I've been there at any store, like, ever wear your, like, a bad day. You know what I mean? Like, we all have them, and I'm sure that you had them, but I would never have known. You know what I mean?
Man.
And, like, I feel that very strongly that I try to do that all the time. And it's you just recognize people that kind of do that too, because like we all when you work in a place like that, you see the same people all the time, you know, and you just kind of get to know who when they're having a bad day or who when they're having a bad time is like, look out, you know what I mean? So the opposite really stands out. So it's always, you know, coming in the morning or whatever, just seeing people like you there always. It just was gonna be a better day. You know what I mean?
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I always appreciate your attitude, man. Like it's just always something to look forward to, man. So
I appreciate that.
And then it was really cool. Yeah, I appreciate it. I like to think that if we all did that, then places like that would be a lot better. Yeah, for sure. So and then for whatever reason, you know, through your changes and promotions, I'm sure, and everything, we ended up being at the same. We ended up at the Granville store at some point.
Crazy.
So we kind of stuck together for a little while, and then I got out of the cell phone business in like 2018 and started to do my own thing. And then it was just about a year later that we met, or towards the end of that year it was something like that. And then I think not too long after that, you must have got licensed in real estate. It's going on 3 years or so for you. You said, right?
I started November 2019.
Yeah,
that's when I left Costco. Never forget the day.
Okay, yeah.
November 10th, actually.
Mine was like I think August of 18, so it would have been about a year later or something like that. That sounds about right. Yep. And then I don't really remember how I found out that I think probably just on Facebook, man, because you've been so good about getting out there and everything with your real estate. It wasn't really hard to find out. But then I don't know how you guys got connected.
Man, honestly, I think B reached out to me.
He reached out to me too.
He reached out to me because it was one of those things where, you know, he hit me up on Facebook Messenger, I believe, or he might have commented on one of my posts. I think it was Facebook Messenger. Either way, it was on a social media platform. And he was like, I see you doing your thing. He's like, man, I would love to kind of partner with you. I'm just like,
all right.
I was like, yo, let's sit down and break bread or whatever it may be, and let's talk about it. You know what I mean? So, but honestly, like, and I don't even think we actually even sat down. I think we actually
met at our first inspection. I remember that house specifically. It had a metal roof and it was off Division Street, kind of almost the Cutlerville area.
Oh, yeah.
I remember
That's Kentwood.
Yeah,
so
Kentwood. Yep.
So that was So that was that's crazy. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that was the first. That was the first time, and then that's when we found out we knew Corbin because you was telling me your Costco story. I'm like, do you know Corbin?
I'm like, bro, yeah. I think prior to that, I think we might have chatted a little bit on Facebook or whatever, just about what you was doing
and friends and everything.
But yeah, man, it's crazy. Everything comes full circle.
Very quickly too. Yeah, very quickly. I mean, I can't even believe that it's been that long already. To be honest with you, even for you too, even just starting a year later, whatever. It's funny because he reached out to me as well because I had gotten licensed at the end of 2018 or something like that. And going into 2019, I kind of got started. So he reached out to me for the same reason. But as we sit here today, you're definitely doing the real estate thing. That's not the happen. Really weird right now, man.
You silly.
But we moved on to doing other things and growing the company and everything, and and working on stuff like this.
And doing a heck of a job at that.
Yeah, appreciate that. Appreciate that. Yeah, definitely. So I didn't, because when he reached out to me, it was like, I just got licensed, and you're getting used to everything you're thinking about because you don't really learn. I feel like you don't really learn anything when you get licensed in real estate. Frankly, like nothing that I learned in the courses or that I took the test on, I didn't end up then applying that to anything real estate. Like we didn't learn how to write a purchase agreement. We didn't learn what a seller's disclosure was. I didn't really learn any of that.
But for me, like shout out to Bill Pearl, man.
Who's that?
Berkshire Hathaway. He's their what they call dash trainer.
Okay.
I tell you what, I felt like I was ready to go because mind you,
there, huh?
I've had all that background with Costco.
Yep.
With, just running business, like wearing so many different hats with Costco, and just knowing like I had confidence in running the business through that, and then so for me, all I needed is know how do I move in this new career?
Yeah.
Verbiage, all that stuff. I mean, for me, because I love people, so I wasn't worrying about being in front of people or running my own business. It was like, hey, I need to learn what I need to learn as far as to be good.
Sure.
And then to be good, you got to be good first to end up being great. You can't just go straight to great. So for me, I need to learn how to be good at contracts and how to protect people, that stuff. And then once you learn that, then you can take what you learn and you can take it to greatness.
Gain experience.
But Bill Pearl was hands down. He was that guy who had me in my class, my dash training at Berkshire, where I started.
That's nice.
Yeah, he had me. I was confident like a mug.
That's
coming out of dash train. I'm like, yo, that's all I needed.
That's good. So they kind of get you going. I don't really have so much. I mean, I picked it up pretty quickly, but I didn't really hit the ground running like that.
Bro. Anybody who's had training by Bill Pearl, it's distinct, and when you're in a transaction with an agent who's been trained by Bill Pearl.
Yeah, you can tell. That's cool, man. That's cool.
Just about the way you move around.
Yeah.
Like your presentation, listening presentations, the way you go line by line. We explain everything. Like there's no dark areas like when we talk to our clients.
That's a good teacher. That's impressive.
He's made probably the biggest impact.
That's impressive.
On my career, starting off from day one.
Shout out to Bill, then.
Bill Pearl.
Wow.
Like, my hat's off to Bill Pearl.
That's amazing. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when we met, I was thinking about all that kind of stuff, and he was like, obviously he was getting the inspection thing started. I was like, all right, well, you're my guy. I don't got to think about that anymore, I'm like, as long as you do well, then, and here we are. I did every one since, and now I've just been more kind of a part of the company itself and trying to grow that with him because I've just, I would even say, sold on Chandler Inspections, but more so sold on him. You know what I mean? Which is kind of why we all do what we do and why it does grow is because people are sold on us. I mean, it is important to have systems and everything in place and to be good, but really, we're selling ourselves no matter what it is, whether it's the inspection company or whatever it is we do. So. Definitely. So you didn't even meet him. You gave him a shot, and then here we are.
Yeah, like honestly, we never sat down. We never sat down. I think I was like, yo, like
I need it.
We was both like, cause we was both new, and I'm like, yo, like, why not? Like,
right, exactly. Why not?
That was like my interview. Like, I'm like, yo, I want to see how you do.
Yeah, won my business by reaching out.
You know, and he showed up. I've never seen him late ever.
No,
ever.
No. Always early.
He's always mad early.
Yep.
Not just early, he's mad. I'm like, hey, like you, like I'll get there like maybe 5 minutes early.
Already
sometimes 10.
Yeah.
One time I got there 15 minutes early. He's already there. Like, B, like what's going on? He's like, yeah, Rick, man.
Can't
you know,
beat him.
I'm like, all right, bro. I can never beat him. But when it comes to being on who can be the earliest. But yeah, like it started from that. We literally had a discussion on the rooftop type stuff. Yeah. And the way he broke it down to me, how he started, we kind of had both similarly stepped out on faith and started our businesses and yeah, bro, it was the rest was history. I'm like, yeah, this is my guy. Like, you know what I'm saying? I like, yeah, like right from the get go. It's one of them things where it's like the chemistry, the vibes was like already there from the first conversation. I'm like, bro, this is my guy.
Plus, you're looking for somebody that you can trust when you're not there, sort of thing too. Yeah. You know, that you can trust to just not be there just to get a paycheck, but to actually care about the people that are your clients. You know,
like there was one inspection, and this is one thing I love about B. There was one inspection, and this shows the trust too. Like that I was not able to be a part of. He knows that I've never missed a inspection up until this point. And I couldn't be there. You know, so I'm like, man, if I could trust anybody, like I had no issues with him being in, the house and
not at all.
You know what I'm saying? Like he did his thing, man. So that's very hard to come by.
It is.
You know what I'm saying?
It is.
Well, Rick, I appreciate that, bro, because obviously, I reached out to a lot of realtors. If you reach out to 100, maybe only 30 respond. That type of deal. So I appreciate the opportunity from day one. When I reached out and you told me you was only a year or, kind of just got your license and new to the game, when I saw you, you presented yourself as if you were a pro. So I guess that deals with that training. And the reason I say that is sometimes you go to a restaurant and the waitress say, oh, today's my first day. Nobody knew that but you. So for you to tell me that, it's like, okay, so now you give me the expectations to mess up, right? I'm guessing that's what they tell me that for.
Yeah.
But from your standpoint, it was the exact opposite. Because you held yourself so well. I'm like, this dude seems like a pro, and he's, and he's a rookie in the game. So to do that, bro, shouts out to you as well. And the reason I say that because obviously, I'm not at the point yet to where I can pick all my clientele. However, you get to pick and choose what realtors you want to connect with and ones you don't. Once you get to know them on a personal level and different things like that. So just know personally, beyond professionally, I mess with you despite you being, from Pittsburgh. Yeah, I'm a Baltimore fan.
Let's talk about that. Pittsburgh Ravens. Much respect. I don't have no shades with the Ravens. I just hate, playing them during big times, big moments. We've came out on top. It's kind of lopsided. We've definitely had our.
I think we like
more
50-50.
wins.
You had a few. I think y'all like 4 up. Y'all like 4 or 5 up.
I think we've had more wins than losses, but it's always a good game.
All the mid and early 2000s, y'all. Well, not early 2000s, but mid and late 2000s. That's for sure, man. So I remember early, like you said, you was getting trained by Bill Pearl. You was with Berkshire. Now you made a transition over to Bellabay. Is that correct?
I did.
So something I want to ask you guys about, a lot of entrepreneurs not willing to change. Even simple people on a day-to-day basis really don't understand the importance of change. How you need to change to elevate. Without elevation, there's no growth. And if you're not growing, it's like, why are you doing what you're doing to a certain extent? So if you don't mind kind of explaining to the viewers what was the reason behind that change and how did that change truly impact you as a person and your role as being a realtor?
Yeah, man. I appreciate the question, man. First of all, I'm saying God is the greatest, man, because he's always been my inspiration behind every move that I make. So I don't make a move without him. But it's all about timing, man. Like, and for me, it's God's timing. So I was with Berkshire. I started there. I actually had, my family, we had a realtor before I got into real estate by the name of Donna Anders. And she helped us buy our first house 13 years ago. our second house, and so it was. So I've had some history with Berkshire when it comes to working with Donna Anders, and so it was kind of a smooth transition when it comes to like once I knew that I was that I had the opportunity to go into real estate. Once I was like, hey, I think that's something that I want to explore, and pretty much the rest was history. Once I got in contact, I let Donna Anders know, who was with Berkshire Hathaway, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I've been trying to get you to do this for a while." And I'm like, "Yo, I think this is the time." So so that's kind of why I ended up with Berkshire. I did interview with like Keller Williams, and I think that was like the only one I only interviewed with two people, two brokers. But yeah, I obviously went to Berkshire Hathaway because that was where my realtor was from, and I always loved her professionalism. I love her family. They were just so amazing, but yes, I was there, did my thing as far as learning. Just been a big, huge sponge when it comes to information and how to move around this new career. Being around people who are like-minded, and which is huge. I mean, because I've always been taught like you become the people you hang around and the books you read. So for me, it's like, I mean, if I want to be successful, like I got to be around successful people.
Yes, sir.
And I need to learn how to think successfully in this business in order for me to perform successfully. So, but yeah, man, honestly, the switch was honestly, man, growth doesn't come without change. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's like, I don't want to remain stagnant. I don't want to, even though I had some successes at Berkshire Hathaway my first 2 years. I'm always looking to grow, and for me, one of the biggest areas that I want to grow in is my reach in the community. And so part of my decision to partner with Bellabay, with Brian Mitchell, when he made his move,
I seen that too, because he was originally with Keller Williams, right?
Yeah,
I seen that movie,
and he's been in contact with me since I started real estate. Just kind of talking here and there. And the funny thing is, I never really sat down with him either. Like,
Brian is a cool dude, bro.
Yeah,
he's pretty smooth.
He's very, very smart.
Yes.
He knows a lot. And he's so freely gives.
Agreed.
And I love that about him. So when he introduced me to Mike Balsitis, we sat down and broke bread together. It was a perfect time to really see some like raw, authentic, feelings, and when it comes to like people's like true desires, true motives.
Yes, sir.
Being able to see both of their hearts and their desires as far as to impact the community, it was like a no-brainer for me. I mean, obviously some financials, which I can't talk about, but it made sense for my vision for where I wanted to grow. So that's the reason why it really honestly came out of nowhere. I wasn't looking to leave Berkshire at that time.
No.
But I knew that it wasn't going to be a forever thing for me.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? My wife and I had a conversation when I first started real estate. I'm like, yo, I don't know how long this is going to be, but it's not going to be forever as far as with one broker. But we just don't, let God show us when it's time to move in.
Yes,
Opportunity presented itself, and we sat down and talked, and we prayed about it after meeting with him. And I'm like, yo, this is exactly where, the next move that I could see our family going as far as just impacting the community and taking it to the next level. So yeah, that's kind of how my transition went.
You mentioned God, faith, and prayer. At the beginning of the show, not necessarily so. On the first episode, we talked about how we wouldn't discuss politics or religion or anything, but it's all respect, bro. And the reason I want to get more so of a personal perspective on faith is because I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs lose faith over time. Yeah. Whether if it's a deal going bad or something took place, a death in the family, and they get hit all of these challenges, and them challenges knock them out, and they're not able to get back up because of that faith piece. Yeah. So discuss, why is faith so important to you, and exactly how does it make an impact on your business? Yeah,
well, I mean, honestly, faith is the very thing that, honestly, it's a close relationship that I have with God.
Yes, sir.
It's almost like you know, like say for instance, I'm married, you know, and so I love my wife dearly, Rebecca. Shout out to my baby mama, my best friend, my everything in between, bro. I mean, she's literally my glue to everything in life, bro. So shout out.
Former Costco. Shout out.
Yeah.
I don't know if she remembers me. We weren't as close, but shout out to Rebecca.
The dopest mother on this rock we call Earth. You know. But yeah, so she literally, man, my wife. You know, when it comes to like me and my wife, our relationship,
yes, sir.
There's no way that I can have faith in her if I didn't have a relationship. You know what I'm saying? You know, you learn by the experience that you have with the person. You know what I mean? So for me, it's my faith is all wrapped around my relationship with God. Him, the experience of him showing up in my life in areas that it can only point to him. And so
powerful, man.
So my my faith in God is the very thing that keeps me rooted. Without it, I mean, there is no me, bro, without my faith in God. And so when it comes to a transaction, when stuff goes left and goes right, when you're looking at the very source of everything, everything else becomes smaller, bro. To be honest, it does. You know, and I look at it almost like, you know, for me, it's like, yo, if I'm focused on the very creator of this universe, like, why wouldn't I go to the source? If I'm having an issue, if I'm having a challenge, I'm gonna go to the source. I'm gonna go to the source for like, hey, so how we gonna make it out of this? Because you know, my pocket's getting tight, or you know, like, man, the emotions are flaring, and how do I cease this, you know, this turmoil that might be happening in a transaction? And there's so many things that can go in a transaction where you got to be rooted in something, and it better be big. And honestly, it better be whatever you're rooted in, or you put your faith in. It better be bigger than your situation, because you know what I'm saying.
You gotta repeat that one more time.
Yeah. So I mean, and that's what I live by. I mean, you know, God is bigger than anything that I can encounter in this life. So for me, it's like, if you're gonna have faith in something, it better be bigger than any situation that you're gonna encounter. Otherwise, it ain't gonna pull you out. So for me, you know, that's just how I roll.
That's peace. Value, bro. Corbin, I'm interested to hear your input. I remember, I think when we first met, and as we built this great relationship between us personally and professionally, I know that wasn't something, I know like you wasn't 100% like on board with, or something you kind of grew up with. But Corbin had expressed to me how he kind of seen life changing a little bit, and maybe if it wasn't more so a belief, it was something spiritual.
No doubt.
So if you don't just kind of mind sharing. Brief history for me is like, I grew up in kind of you couldn't really label it. I feel like it was almost like hybrid. We had some Catholic, we had some evangelists, I think that's a lot of cases now. I grew up kind of in that, and I did some Bible study, I did some youth group, I did some camp, all that kind of stuff. And exactly. But it never really clicked with me for some reason when I was a kid. And I grew up, went through school and everything, kind of just dissonant from it. And then I would say by my late teens, early 20s, I would have probably identified myself as atheist. I listened to a lot of like Richard Dawkins and stuff. So, they call them like new atheists. They got a label for them now and everything. Like that kind of stuff. I kind of thought that made sense. But funny enough, like come full circle, I can barely even listen to Dawkins for like 10 minutes without thinking, nothing you're saying makes any sense, brother. Like it's so interesting because I started just kind of opening my mind a little bit to some of that. I guess what kind of bothered me, and it's such a nuanced discussion, and probably we could get into this for hours, but for some reason what never clicked with me was the meaning behind it all. When I was little, and when I was, as I was growing up, I was being told a lot of these different stories, and I just feel like kind of the method and the way that I was taught, it almost felt condescending. It felt strange to me for some reason. It felt like somebody was trying to kind of twist my arm into something that I just didn't really understand the meaning behind. So people were telling me the stories,
but I didn't understand why they were important to me. They just seemed like any other kind of story or anything else. And I guess that as I've gotten older and kind of listened to some other perspectives and kind of started to understand some of the meaning behind the stories and understand some of the, I guess that's kind of part of who I am. Like, I'm never really bought into something if I don't understand how the gears are spinning and like what exactly is going on. It's just difficult for me. I just don't, I can't, you know, and so that's where kind of the idea of faith was difficult, especially because, I mean, faith almost it goes against that in some sense. The idea of faith, just kind of taking something on faith is like, that was a difficult concept for me because I'm like, why? You know, why would I just take something on faith? I can't understand it, you know, but as I'm getting older and kind of understand some kind of the gravity of the situation and how some of these things came together, you know, there's so much input out there, especially now as connected as we are with the internet. Everybody has an opinion on what things are, why they should be important to you or why they shouldn't be important to you, and it can be kind of hard to kind of form your own opinion if you don't just go off on your own and kind of see how those things feel and kind of what you think about them. So yeah, long story short, I've taken, you know, I'd say in the past year or two, I've definitely started to take some input from a side that I used to not be comfortable with, and just trying to take as much as I can and understand where other people are at with that sort of thing. And so here you talk like 2 or 3 years ago, I wouldn't know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? I would not have had a clue what you're talking about. I would have been sitting, and it almost would have annoyed me. You know what I mean? Just be like, man, but I think at the end of the day, it's because, and I think this is actually something I kind of wanted to. So we're going a little off the rails here.
It's all good. This wrong
because we don't. We got a little less time. I want to get into this, and I think it's a really interesting one. I actually want to talk about this anyways, because I think to me it all kind of ties together, because you mentioned how, you mentioned that being rooted in something, you know. I feel like that's a really big problem right now, just in general with everything, with society, and I think that's part of what has allowed me to see some of that, like I said, why does it matter to us sort of a thing, why does it matter to me, and I kind of see that a lot of things that seem to be falling apart around us are because people have their roots into things that they otherwise maybe shouldn't. People are rooted in politics, people are rooted in you know, maybe even some religion in ways that are not even productive, you know, just that people are, when that kind of that maybe that we'll just say the idea of God kind of leaves a society, it seems like almost there's something that just goes missing for people, and they tend to find that kind of in other places, and I guess I've recognized that, and that's one thing, you know, I think one common counterpoint people have to this idea of God, funny enough, and now I think they have no business even in the same room, is science. You know, people seem to think that you can find some sort of basis for ethics and morality and all these different things in science, and it doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, I know. I know. I went to present it.
I mean, listen. Yeah. And now we talking about science. This is one thing I'm gonna tell.
Please,
man. If you get some time, bro, I highly recommend. There's a cellular adhesive molecule that holds our body together. It's called laminin.
Sounds a little familiar. Okay.
Laminin. And I tell you what, when you see that, text me.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's the thing.
So like without this molecule, without this adhesive molecule that holds our body together, like without it, we would be a puddle. It's crazy.
Wow. There's a lot of things like this that I used to fall into this trap, I feel that it was a trap. A lot of people are going to hear this and disagree, but there's always this, it just hasn't found the answer yet. You know, that's usually, it's like, we just don't have the answer yet. And you think, okay, all right, we'll find, you know what I mean? And it's like, I don't know that we ever will, you know? There's a lot of things that are just kind of based in this kind of materialism that we've kind of become obsessed with, I think, in our society, that just, the more you kind of start to challenge it, the more you start to really look at it and think about it, it just kind of falls apart. And
well, you know what? I like to kind of expound on that a little bit. Like, I've always, you know, I've learned throughout life that, like, you know, first of all, like, when it comes to anyone on this earth, like, the biggest thing is, like, when we first meet somebody, like, you're like, man, do you want to have another conversation with that person or not, through your experience, right? Like, so I like to look at it like the Bible says that we should be salt and light in this world. And the way I look at that, because everybody that knows me knows I love to cook. You know what I'm saying, right? I grill, smoke, do all that. Like, I'm a foodie at heart. Yeah. So the way I look at that is like, man, like, what that meant to me is like, man, like, the people should know the difference. Like, you know the difference between light and dark. It's a big difference.
Agreed.
You know when some food doesn't have salt in it. You're like, bro, this ain't seasoned.
Yeah.
Right? There's a big difference. So for me, it's like, people should know when you're around and when you're not. And it should leave a good taste in their mouth. Like, so like, I look at it like, man, if I'm an apple, if I call myself an apple and you bite into me, yo, experience me. If it ain't like, man, I don't taste good. I don't want another apple.
Yes.
We have a lot of people like that right now who call themselves Christians. Right? You like, man, that's what a Christian look like? We got so many different shades of Christians. Out there. That's why I tell them, I hate saying that I'm a Christian. Like, no, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ, period. Like, my life is devoted towards him and pleasing him, period. I don't like the way that society is and the media has painted this picture, multiple different pictures of what Christianity looks like.
I don't like that either.
So for me, like, when people say, "Oh man, are you Christian?" Nah, bro, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, because I think that honestly, almost anything, any sort of group identity has become just not a good thing.
Man,
you know what I mean?
And at the end of the day, bro, it's like, listen, like, if people should be drawn to you, in a good way, they should be drawn to you. They should want to know, like, man, like, there's something different about you, B.
Yeah.
Like, there's something different about you. Like, seriously, like, you're around all these cats, you're around all these people, you're doing things, man. Like, I just feel like, man, like, it seems like people just gravitate toward you, like, and including me being one of them. Like, what, bro? Tell me about your story. Like, people who are living their lives the way they should live. Like, you shouldn't have to open your mouth and say, yo, I do this, or I claim to be this. Like, people should automatically be like, man, like, I rock with Corbin. Like, he's a cool guy. I like being around him. That's the introduction. Like, if people don't want to be around you, like, I've always learned, before people actually like trust you, like, they have to get to know you first. Then once they know you, they have to figure out, okay, like, is he likable? Do I like him? Yes, I like him. And once they like you, then they can trust you. And, like, you know what I'm saying? So for me, it's like, I think there's so much pressure. Like, the society puts pressure on, like, you have to put a label on your stuff. Like,
that's not good.
Like, nah,
so they
man,
just
like,
doing your thing.
Like, man, nah.
Now, did you grow up religious? Let's say, did you?
I hate the word religious too, man. But I grew up loving God.
You did. Was your family, your childhood, and everything was kind of surrounded by that and everything too? So
and the crazy thing is, man, like, I've learned so much from when I was introduced to Jesus Christ. When I was younger, I've had totally different experiences, like, since then. And so I was able to, like, the beginning or the core of my faith, I was introduced to Jesus Christ when I was younger, has only grown. And so it's like, you know, I've learned too, man, like, things can never, like for me and my wife, you know, when we first got together, it's totally different than when we first got married. And even now,
sure.
I'm not the same person that, you know, when I was married to my wife 12 years ago. Yeah. I'm a totally different person.
Sure.
So, like, for me, it's like, you know, I think society makes people like, yo, like, okay, you're X, and you have to always remain like this. Like, you have to always look like this. Nope. And it's like, nah, man, like, and you shouldn't want it to. Like me being a young follower of Jesus Christ, like, at early stages of my life, I look totally different now.
Yeah,
like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, and God has allowed me, like, through Him, I've been able to grow and elevate. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so, man, I just honestly, man, I think too many people put religion in a box.
I don't think they really understand.
Man, nah.
I think a lot of people put a lot of things in.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
Now, but the thing with you is that it's that root. So even though you have, you know, grown older and things have changed and you're different than you were, you know, like you said, when you and your wife got together, when you got married, but that root has always been there, and that's kind of what I would say probably kept you consistent, you know. And this kind of ties into, this is something that we kind of talk about from time to time. It's something that I think about a lot, to be honest with you. I feel like people, you've always struck me as somebody who is very confident. Like he said, when you guys first met, when you started out and everything, you know, he could have swore you had been doing it for a while. And to me, that's the confidence. And something that I want to talk to you about that I want to mention to you, is that, you know, when we worked at Costco, you were pretty much, as far as I know, I mean, I'm sure you started at, from where everyone else does, but I mean, as far as I know, while I was there, you were always in a management position or a supervisor position, one way or another. You were in majors, I think, as a supervisor, maybe when I got there, and then I think you moved your way up even more from there.
Yeah.
And being at the cell phone kiosk is kind of like the barber shop. I feel like people come by, people come by and talk about everybody. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so, to be honest with you, man, there was a couple people that I know to this day, and I don't want to name names or anything, and it's nothing crazy, but there's sometimes that people would talk about you. And people would talk about you in a way that I never understood, because you, to me, have always seemed consistent. You always have a good attitude. And I think that people very often conflate confidence with narcissism. And I do not for the life of me understand that, because at no point in knowing you ever would I ever think that you would be a narcissistic person. In fact, I would put my life savings on the fact that you are not a narcissistic person. But people, I feel like, and this kind of ties back to that, like, I feel like people very often look at confidence as narcissism, and look at people like yourself who are just rooted in something. You're consistent. You show up on time. You do what needs to get done. You do it with a smile, and you just you do what needs to get done. And that's not an easy thing to do, to be honest with you. People see that, they get I think sometimes just upset about it. You know what I mean? People get upset, and you'll maybe appreciate this. I listen to a lot of Jordan Peterson. I don't know if you're familiar with Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson has really helped me understand, or at least put some perspective on some of these biblical stories. So one of my favorite, he talks about Cain and Abel a lot. Cain and Abel, everybody kind of knows the story. Cain kills Abel because Abel is kind of this, it's kind of implied in the story. You might say that Abel is almost kind of the ideal. He's like the ideal brother. It doesn't directly necessarily say that, but it kind of mentions how Abel kind of seems to do the right things, and almost by omission, Cain kind of doesn't. It doesn't necessarily say that, but maybe Cain's sacrifices just really are right up to where Abel's are, So Abel is kind of painted as the ideal. And what Jordan said that really kind of caught me, I had to listen to this probably 2 or 3 times before I really caught him say this, was that obviously he kills Abel, and that's a terrible thing for a number of reasons. Most people understand why killing your brother is a bad thing, just because you're jealous. You know what I'm saying? But what he says along the way is that not only does he just kill his brother, he kills the very ideal that his brother embodied, that Abel embodied, which is that ideal is what we strive to be. Everybody strives to be Abel. And when Cain killed Abel, he didn't just kill his brother, he killed the ideal, the thing that you strive for. And that's what did him in. That's why he couldn't live with himself. And I feel like people do that on a daily basis, in the way that they look at people they conflate this confidence with narcissism. I feel like when I see somebody like you, or I engage with somebody like you, or even with Brian, I've told him this before, it makes me want to be better.
Yeah.
You can look at that. You can look at somebody like that and tout it up to narcissism or whatever you want to do. But I think, and I'm probably even guilty of it. I think probably we've all done it at some point, where you see something you want, and you think, well, I deserve that. That's just. But some people really just embody that Cain, if you will, and daily they just slaughter the very thing that they should be striving for. Instead of asking for tips, they're leaning in, talking about people behind their back.
Listen, and it's funny, man, because I've always been, told I think everybody, who's moved up in any kind of promotions when it comes to working in corporate America, the higher you go, bigger the bullseye. Bigger the bullseye. And I take a step further. Like, people hate what they can't control. Or honestly, people hate what they can't shake. So
and
for me,
weird.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like if I can't shake your confidence, if I can't shake what I really would love to be, then they use that like, oh well, there's something wrong with, like, he's I've had people say, oh, he loves power and all that stuff.
That's what they say.
And it was like, and it's funny, man, because if you're around somebody long enough, they'll show you who they are. And honestly, like, and I look at too, man, like, some people can really, really, really like show you like on surface, like, oh yeah, they're this type of person. But it's something about when you're pressed. No matter what you look like on the outside, when you get pressed, just like it could be a dirty apple. You like, man, I ain't an apple, bro. That look like apple could be so dirty. Like, man, that look like a pear. Like, pears can be
yeah.
And they squeeze them out, and like, but without it, if it's an apple, when you squeeze, apple juice gonna come out.
Yeah.
So I really feel that, you can really tell who somebody is when they're pressed.
That's very true.
When they're under pressure. And there's some great things that get created under pressure.
I kind of like being under pressure.
Some great things, man. And I honestly, I feel like a lot of people, I think there's a better version of you
on the other side.
On the other side of being pressed.
I agree with that 100%.
And you look at a lot of people who are successful. And the word success has a different perspective in a lot of different people's
it's relative.
eyes. But because I believe that true success is you become the person you're capable of becoming. Like money, all that stuff is byproducts.
Your full potential.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like a lot of people, man, like they want to be something so bad. They want to be a certain type of person that people like, or be viewed in this certain light. And it's like, when you're pressed though, like what you consume on a daily basis, when you press, it's gonna come out.
That's very true.
It's gonna come out, and so
true.
That's why you better be rooted in something. Like you
better be rooted in
something that's bigger than you. Exactly. And honestly, that's going to carry you, because you're gonna have bad days.
Yeah.
But like when you have a bad day, is it pleasing to be around you when you have a bad day?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if I had a bad day, like,
or do I feel like this?
I don't want to, like, there's some moments like you ain't gonna want to be around me either. Like, you know what I'm saying? But the moral of the story is that, when you're pressed, that's when you really can see somebody. When you see somebody who's pressed, like, what your daily diet is. I mean, that goes along with what you read, what you eat.
That's
when you're pressed, I mean, that's what's going to be exposed, man.
That's very true, and that's a practice. Yeah. That's a practice. Yeah. That's a big time practice, and maybe part of that practice is a relationship with God.
Hey, listen, I'll tell you all day about it. I love him, man. I tell you what, man, he has a way, and he's a gentleman, man. He's not gonna force himself on nobody. Like, and that's one thing I tell people, like, man, like, you're not the typical Christian, like, well, why?
God.
What Christian you referring to? Like, it's like that's going to condemn you every time I see you. Did you read?
Right.
Did you read today?
Man,
nah. Like, bottom line is, like, it's either you want him or you don't. He's not going to force himself. I don't force that on people. I don't force God on people. Like,
some people feel like just the mention of it.
Man, it's like, hey,
for it, like,
oh no, I don't want to mess with that. That's cool. Like, but like honestly, like we should be that kind of our lifestyles when it's devoted to God. Like, people should want to know, like, yo, like, I want to sit down and have coffee with you, or break bread with you, whatever it may be. But I just got to pick your brain, and really what they're trying to see is what they can't see. What's on the inside of you. Like, and that's when, like, when God is so good to you, like, that's why I can't have these conversations with you guys and not talk about it. Because I rock with him every day. So for me, it's like, like, I can't stop talking about him and everything that I do, because he literally isn't everything that I do. You know what I'm saying?
I can't see nothing wrong with that. That's the sort of thing that has kind of brought me back to, I don't even know. And that's the thing, and that's where I don't even know necessarily. I don't feel anxious about where to go necessarily, but I do feel like I'm not, I'm not in any hurry to get a label. I'm not in any hurry to proclaim anything necessarily, but just in my everyday kind of thoughts and behaviors and habits, just kind of trying to think about that angle. Whereas in the past, there's really nothing on the other side of that other than just a kind of like nihilism, or just this kind of, again, that root. There is. If there is something else to root yourself in, I can't find it. I don't know where it is. And nobody else seems to be able to find it either. You know what I mean? So until, you know what I mean? And there's no, like, we'll find it isn't really an answer, because as things start to fall apart, you start to wonder, like, how did we even make it this long? It's like, what was that glue, what transcends all of us? And that, I don't know, man. don't know. So I'm happy you even it's funny because I was thinking about breaking the rule today too. We don't normally talk about it only because we're more worried about dissenting opinions and going off the rails. But I kind of figured we would all have a better,
it's all good, man. Listen,
better conversation.
Strap
about
up.
Yeah. A productive one.
Yeah.
A productive one.
It was something that stood out to me that both of you guys said. Courtney, you had mentioned that it's hard for you to do something if you don't understand it, right?
Yeah.
And I remember in the 250 project class, one of my classmates told me, Brian, it's okay to do something that you don't understand and understand why you did it later when you look back on it. And when he said that, because I was super struggling with homework, and I'm like, I done graduated already, man. I'm not looking to do any extra assignments outside of this classroom unless you tell me go talk to somebody, engage, or build something. That's a little bit different.
Yeah.
But actually sitting on a computer doing that's not my cup of tea. However, I had to understand to do that, it was going to do something for me later.
That's true.
Type of fact. That's kind of what stood out to me with you. And like I said, I know you're kind of short on time today, but I want you to touch base upon earlier you mentioned community and how important that is to you. So kind of, I know earlier you had hit me up about the autism give back, right? It's like it's a walk, correct?
Yeah. So it's
tell the people, man.
Yeah, man. It's so obviously like we talking about earlier. My oldest, Braylon, he's autistic.
Yes, sir.
And so it's my oldest.
How old is he now?
12. Yeah, he's 12. Isn't it crazy? See, Corbin, no, because he see my kids at Costco. That goes back to that Costco connect.
Okay.
But no, man. So like, autism is something that's very dear to my wife and I's heart.
Yes,
I mean, it's a lifestyle for us. So like people, people like every day, it's what we do.
Yes,
so he comes with me. That's why I wear it because. My son, I always keep him with me.
Now you're stuck because if he sees it, you don't see it. You're gonna be
let's go everywhere I go. But no, autism means a lot to us, and so the biggest thing in the community, like there's a lot of people who don't know that there's resources. Like, or if they do, they don't know about all the resources. But there's so many resources in the community that can help equip families to become more aware of like what's out there to help. Cause sometimes, bro, like it's tough. There's been a couple people who actually reached out to me recently off a couple posts that I made. One of them when I was more vulnerable on like how my son has motivated me. Just the way that he goes about his day, and this even through trying situations, like how he's like, nah, man, like I'm not going to take the low way. I'm always gonna take the high way. He's just trying to please God in what he does, and so he's my motivation.
That's powerful, man, to be 12 years old,
bro. At 12, and so I thank God for that. But yeah, man, like so, Ask is the organization that we have done some work with in the past, and they just have a lot of great resources. They're not the only organization that has resources, but Ask, Autism Support for Kent County. Has done just an amazing job, just with showing the support. So we do walks with them. Our first walk with them was actually last year, and so when we got help to the organization, they do a really good job of including everybody, and then showing like what they have at their disposal to make their lives easier, because it's not an easy task when you have a child that's autistic, and the spectrum is so broad that like the way that my son is totally different than could be than if you had a son that had autism. And so this walk that they do every year, either you can donate to the cause for awareness. Which I believe is $25 is the minimum that they will require if you want a T-shirt and walk.
Yes, sir.
The deadline I think actually for being guaranteed a T-shirt is actually today. I think by 5, so we already missed it. But yeah, so that walk is on May 7th. May 7th.
What time, location, so the viewers can know?
I believe I'll send it to you.
Right.
But I know for sure that the date is the 7th, and I think I'm pretty sure it usually starts early in the morning.
I'm pretty sure that's public information.
Yeah, and you can go to Ask website, You know, and they have all the information there. But the link that I shared with you,
yes, sir.
Like I said, it's more so like, hey, you can walk with us, and that's one thing. Just the people that I'm connected with, like, hey, how can I support? Hey, like even if you don't want to donate money,
yes,
you know, you can walk with us, you know, too. So you know, it's just a cause, it's to draw more awareness.
Yes,
to
sir.
autism. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
We, like I said, we know we kind of short on time. We typically go over the under the rug moment of the month.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we was telling you earlier, it's pretty much the thing that we find is kind of swept under the rug. As me being a licensed home inspector, Corbin being in and out the properties, and you even being a realtor.
Yeah.
I was telling Corbin even before you came here, I seen the craziest thing with a sump pump. It was a property I just inspected in the Sparta area, and sump pumps are always digging into a pit that's typically on your foundation slab.
Yeah.
So their pit was an actual water softener. They basically took the stuff out the water softener, set the sump pump in there, and the way they was getting water to drain in there, they had an extension pipe that was connected to a downspout. Obviously, that downspout was connected to a gutter. So when it rains and it snows, that water then goes down into the sump pump and then this discharges to the outside of the house when the pump runs.
Wow.
That's how they had it set up. I've never seen anything like that. It freaked me out. And sometimes as an inspector, that moment questioned what I knew about sump pumps. I'm like, did I do this wrong? I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. So I'm like, you know what, this is crazy, man. So if you don't mind sharing just kind of your under the rug moment, things that you maybe had seen that was ugly, whether if it's in your profession or just kind of being in and out of houses.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, I would say probably one of the craziest moments that I've witnessed when I literally saw in a garage. This is a house that was out in a rural area.
Yes, sir.
And we got to the garage, and there was many bats sleeping. Many bats sleeping. So I'm like, that looked like a bat, but maybe it's like I'm in my imagination because I don't want it to be a bat.
Yes, sir.
You feel me?
Yes, sir.
So my imagination, I'm like, maybe that's like an old banana peel.
We all got those moments. We see something.
Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, let it be a banana peel, please. Like that's just mad old. And just look like almost like a chicken wing. Like, you know what I'm saying? In the garage. You know, and so my client was like, no, that's a bat. And there's actually a few more. There's one there, right there. Start pointing. I'm like, yo,
we gotta get out.
We gotta get up out of here. As I move, right, one of their kids grabbed a stick. Like, I'm this random stick. I'm like, where'd you find a stick, right? Because I ain't seen no stick in the garage.
Well, you've been in the rural areas, right? Sticks all around.
Grabbed a stick and poked it, and that mug started flapping, bro. I said, yeah. So that was probably one of the moments where, like definitely the black part of me, bro. I start running, and my client is like, "Yo, you left me in the garage." You know what I'm saying? I'm like, "Yo," like when that happened, you know, that's the instinct. That's the instinct.
Oh man, you're absolutely right, man.
I'm out. Like, this is flying. It's not.
Every man for himself.
And so my thing is, when it starts flying, it's gonna start calling to the rest of the
and everybody else.
They're like, yo, we got somebody who's up there. Like, nah, I'm out. You know.
That's a wrap.
So I didn't go back. I said, listen.
You thought a worst case scenario.
Yeah. I was like, yo. So you know, all them scenarios. I'm like, yo, I gotta get it out of here. So that was one of the moments where I'm like, this is probably the most unprofessional that I've been with my client.
You had a good reason.
I shot out.
Yeah.
Like I shot out, and I'm like, yo, I ran out the front door, and the husband was like, he wasn't playing. I'm like, I'm sorry, but like that caught me completely off guard. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, nah, bro, because you think about, I'm gonna get bit, and then I'm gonna have rabies, and then like all this, like nah. I'm like, nah. So that was the craziest moment because I'm like, I didn't believe that it was a bat until the kid poked it with a stick and it started flapping.
Of course that happened. Of course,
bro.
So it was crazy, man.
I haven't had the pleasure of seeing any bats. Majority of my work in Grand Rapids, which there are bats, but not as often.
And mind you, bro, this is the creepy thing, right? So after I'm like, they end up getting out the house too eventually. I'm like, look, I'm sorry. I'm just, you know what I'm saying? And as we're leaving, the garage door is facing. So I'm looking, and the kid was like, "Look, mommy, they're trying to get out." And Louis, there's a bat that was underneath the door, so the outside of the house, and it was like stretching its way. I was like, "No, I'm out. I'm out. I gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta go, man." So it was probably the most like absurd, crazy, like all the
That's
above.
crazy.
Like
Snakes,
it was crazy. Yeah.
Spiders, I don't do that.
Like, I'm straight on that, man. But
Yep. No, man. So, heading out, man. Tell the people exactly how they can reach you.
Man,
reach your real estate service.
Yeah, man. You can call at 616-520-3628. Or you can go to the website. Website crazy. I just had a new website design built. RicardoRogersHomes.com. Go ahead and type it in. Hit that enter button. And it goes crazy. So yeah, you can see me there. You can call me. Or my email, RicardoRogersHomes@gmail.com. You know what I'm saying? You can reach me anytime. I'm on social media, so if you don't want to go to any of those websites or any platforms, you can go ahead and hit me on Facebook Messenger. I'm on Instagram, TikTok. I mean,
the works.
Man.
You killing it, man.
Man, I appreciate you, man. Look, definitely gotta have me back. Have some more water because I didn't kill the water in here, but I appreciate y'all so much for having me, man.
You, man.
I wish I could stay longer, but
that's all good.
It's all good.
You know, we gotta make that move when it
It was a pleasure having you on, man. We appreciate it, and it's Under the Rug podcast.
So 5.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Appreciate you.